So, lesson 2 is looking at playing in a trump contract. So, the word contract is from the word contract bridge, which is the game we are playing. It's shortened to bridge by basically everyone. But you are contracted to take a certain number of tricks, and that's where this bit comes in here. You are contracted to 9 tricks. If you don't get 9 tricks, you have failed your contract, and therefore you lose points. It's a bit like a bet, really. You're betting you're going to get a certain number of tricks. So, playing a trump contract means you are in a contract that has trumps, naturally. So what that means is you have 8 cards in a suit between the 2 hands, 8 or more, I should say. If you only have 7 cards, that means the opponents have 6. That's not a sufficient majority to choose that suit as trumps, regardless of the quality. Even if you've got ace, the king, and the queen, it's still not a good enough majority because it's dangerous when there's 6 trumps out. When there's only 5 out and 4 and 3, and obviously the better and better it gets, it's safe to choose that suit as trumps. So playing in a trump contract. Often a good idea, not always, and I'll talk more about that's the problem with this game, there's always this is a good idea, but there's just this one thing. Often playing in a trump contract, a good idea is to do a technique known as drawing the trumps. That means you pull the trumps from the opponents. It is highly unlikely, / never will happen, that you are dealt all 13 cards in a suit. The opponents will have some cards in your trump suit. So in this example, North-South, their trump suit is going to be spades. That will be a good choice, given that they have 8 spades between the 2 of them. It's not because we have nice spades, although that's obviously good, it's because we have 8 of them that I'm choosing that suit as trumps. The clubs are better, but the spades are longer, so I'm choosing spades as trumps. Now, the opponents have 5 spades between the 2 of them. Now, there's one thing I want to stress about bridge, and the only thing, well, one of the only things you need to be good at bridge is to count to 13. Whenever anyone asks me, how are you so good at bridge? What is it about bridge that you're good at? I say, I don't do anything clever, I just count to 13 a lot. And that's all you have to do, count to 13. And I want to kind of underline that, put fireworks behind it, bold font, stars, all sorts, because counting to 13 is the game when you get to the card play bit. Counting to 13 is easy, doing it 4 times at the same time is not so easy. So what I would suggest you do, because all of us are new to bridge, it would be impossible for you to, well, not impossible if you're a genius, but it's unlikely for you to be able to count 4 suits, and because there's 8 of them gone, 5 of them gone, 4 of them gone, 2 of them gone, and then around where some people play clubs and some people play spades, it gets very confusing very quickly. So what I want you to do is focus on one suit, and I know all of you can count to 13 once. I know you can. So what that suit is that you should be concentrating on is the trump suit. Drawing the trumps means you are pulling the trumps off the opponents, and you are simply counting to 13, and when they have run out of trumps, you have succeeded in drawing the trumps. The idea behind that is that currently East-West have kind of 3 trumps and 2 trumps if they're split nicely. And they've got the jack, the 10, the 9, whatever. But more importantly, they haven't got trumps that are threatening. So in theory, they shouldn't win any of their trumps. Because if you play the ace, then the king, then the queen, assuming they're divided evenly, you will be able to pull all of their trumps off them, and they won't make any tricks from their trumps that they've been dealt. It would be bad if they made their little 3 of spades when you played your ace of clubs. That would be very bad, because they are making a small trump in place of your ace. You burnt 4 points there for no gain. So the aim really should be, we want to pull the trumps off the opponents and play on our next best suit. Our next best suit in this instance would be clubs. Those clubs are winners. There's nothing the opponents can do as long as they can't trump them. So a bad idea would be to win the lead, or not, depending on what happens, and then play club, 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 because eventually someone will run out of clubs. And when they run out of clubs, they're going to trump it. Yes, you can also trump it here, but if you play your ace and this hand's run out, you're not going to trump your own ace, but someone else might. So what you want to do is stop that from happening, and to do that, you need to pull the trumps off them. Okay, so often a good plan in a trump contract is to pull the trumps off the opponents and then play your next best suit. Now, I've made it, I don't want to say straightforward, but I've made it so that we have complete control over both of those things. I can pull the trumps without losing the lead, and I can play the clubs without losing the lead. I'm in control of everything here. I will do another example in a minute where it takes a little bit more work to do what I'm saying, pull the trumps and play next best side suit. So, let's say the opponents lead something. They lead a heart. So, we lose that heart. They're likely to lead hearts just because they've got good hearts. They play another heart because they don't know. Don't forget, in bridge you have a dummy. This will be the dummy. This will be the closed hand, so this is hidden. They don't know you've not got any hearts left. They play another heart, and you trump it. And now you want to draw the trumps. The reason you want to draw the trumps is because you want to enjoy those nice clubs. That's your plan. You want to play those trumps and then play the clubs. So when you play the trumps, you must be counting. When you play the ace, you must count the opponent's spades in the same trump suit. Now there are several ways to do this. You can either count the spades that are missing, so there are 5 missing, and you can count up from 0 to 5, or down from 5 down to 0, or you can count the entire suit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, I've got 2, that's 13. Whatever you prefer, however you like it, just choose one way and stick with it. If you change all the time, you'll not really commit. I personally, if you're interested, I count from 0 up to 13, and I count every time one is played, including my own hand. But I know some people like to count just the opponent's ones, because it's easier, because there's few of them. So it's up to you, but you've got to kind of get in the habit of counting, however you want to count. I personally prefer up to 13, just because then I find that easier. So when you, well, we've got to remember that we've trumped in once here, that's a little bit of an extra trick. You've played ace, they play 1, low 1, low 1, so that's 4, plus the one we played is 5. You play the queen, another one, that's another 4, let's say, so that's 2 rounds of 4. This is the way I count. Again, if you don't like the way I count, you can count the ones they've played. So I've counted now, 2 rounds of 4 is 8, I trumped in 1 is 9, we've got 10, 11, 12. So one person has one more trump. Okay, that's the way I work. So therefore, you play the king, following suit with south, and now you have succeeded in pulling the trumps off the opponents. Okay? That has made an assumption that everyone played spades all the time. It might be that all 5 spades were there, and none were there. That's unlucky. There is such a thing as a bad break, and that's one of them, 5-0. It's more likely that the trumps are distributed evenly than it is uneven. If you're interested in the odds, 3 and 2 is 68%, 4 and 1 is like 20-odd%, and 5 and 0 is like 5%. So it's more likely that they are distributed evenly. I don't expect you to memorise those numbers, I'm just telling you. So breaks in a suit, you will soon realise the more and more you play bridge, suits breaking is good, suits not breaking is bad. So in this instance, the spades breaking 3 and 2 was very nice for us, because we played the ace, played the queen, played the king, and now all of the spades are ours. Once you've drawn the trumps, once the opponents don't have any more trumps, you don't need to play the trump suit, because that trump or trumps will always win. So this little spade will always win a trick. Whether that's trick 13 or now, it will always win a trick. So once you've pulled all the trumps, stop playing trumps. You only play trumps to pull them off there. Okay? Our next target was to play clubs, wasn't it? So now we want to play the club suit. So we play over to the king, we play the queen, we have a problem. What's the problem?
Can't leave clubs.
We can't lead clubs because the lead's in the wrong place. This is where our either ace of diamonds or our trump is going to be a very useful card, because we're going to be able to get the lead back to the north hand. Okay, so let's do that. Let's say we trump a heart. That gets the lead back to north. And now you can play the ace of clubs and the jack of clubs, and they are definite winners. The opponents can't trump them, even if they've got no clubs left, because you pull the trumps off them. With me?
Yeah.
Now, just as an extra, this club here might be the last club in the deck. If you've been counting clubs, you would know. I haven't told you to count clubs, so you didn't know. But after 4 rounds of clubs, it's quite likely that the opponents have run out of clubs. Again, once you've counted the trumps, you can then disregard that suit. That's counted, done, tick. And then the next suit, you can then count to 13. You can count once to 13. It's when you draw trumps, then play a suit, then draw some more trumps, then play another suit. It gets complicated, okay? So, you know, kind of advise there. So if that club is a winner, then play the club. Even if that club is something like the 6 of clubs, if it's the last club in the deck, the opponents cannot stop you from winning it, because they have no trumps and no clubs. So what are they going to do? They can't beat it. So you can make tricks out of little cards, and that is something that is really paramount to making tricks in bridge, is making tricks out of little cards, and that's through the power of counting to 13. It doesn't take a good player to make an ace. Everybody makes aces. So here now, we have, let's imagine that the clubs did break, so that means that that little club is a winner. That means we're going to make 5 trump tricks, 5 club tricks, and the ace of diamonds. So we're only going to lose 1 diamond and 1 heart. That's an awful lot of tricks. How many points have we got? I didn't even bother doing that. 8, 12, 16, opposite 7. Is that 16 opposite 7? Is that right?
Yes.
So we're in this bracket because we have tricks, we're in this bracket, but we actually made this many. Just because of good play. We pulled the trumps, ran the clubs. Now obviously this hand is contrived. I've set it up so that it works. But it just goes to show you the power of pulling the trumps. The opponents actually can't do anything. They're powerless to help. And that's because these clubs are too good for them and they can't trump them because you've stopped them. Yes?
So you're not penalised if you get more trumps than
No,
you said?
the more you get...
You're penalised if you get less?
Correct.
Okay.
The more you get, the better. When we get into the scoring, you get a bonus for making your contract, and then you get a little bit more if you go up, a little bit more if you go up, and a little bit more if you go up, and so far. When we go into the bidding, if you make this many tricks, and you only bid for this many tricks, that is, whilst you get extra points, it would have been better if you bid up here, because you then get the big bonus. You get bonuses at certain stages. So, now, looking at another hand, I'm going to do one where we want to draw the trumps, but it isn't as easy. I made it easy for myself there, let's be honest. I played the ace of spades, king of spades, queen of spades, then played all the clubs. That wasn't difficult, but you had to draw the trumps first. Now I'll do an example where it's a bit trickier. Okay, I've made this one up on the spot, so let's see how it goes. South has got 13 points, North has got 10 points, so we're 23, which means we're in this bracket. We are going to elect diamonds as trumps because we have an 8-card diamond fit. Our spades are better, but our diamonds are longer. So that means we are aiming for 9 tricks. That's our target. Now, our trumps are not good here, are they? We are missing the ace and the king. Missing the ace, king of trumps is genuinely, obviously, not a good thing. But that doesn't mean it's necessarily wrong to draw the trumps. I suspect most of your instincts would be to stay away from the diamond suit because you're missing the ace and the king. And therefore, you're going to lose tricks if you play that suit. And losing tricks is bad. So I follow that logic. The problem you've got is the ace and king of diamonds will always win tricks. The opponents have been dealt the ace-king of trumps. You cannot avoid losing tricks there. What you need to avoid is losing tricks to their small trumps. They've got 5 trumps. Only 2 of them are big. The other 3 are little. So what would be a disaster is if they make their little trumps as well as their big trumps. Okay? Now here, what I want to do is play the diamonds until they run out of diamonds, and then play my next best suit, which is spades. I would like it that I could pull the trumps and then play the spades, as in the last example. The problem here is that I'm going to lose the lead. And when you lose the lead, the defenders tend to do things that don't help you, because they're not on your side. So there is an extra complexity to drawing the trumps when the opponents start doing things that you don't want them to do. For example, playing clubs is bad for us here. Playing hearts is okay, I suppose. Playing spades is obviously good. But they're likely to be leading clubs to get rid of your ace, and then when they get back in, they're going to play their queen and king or whatever they've got left. That is bad. There's not really much you can do about that, because you still need to draw their trumps. Sometimes you lose tricks in the trump suit. That's life. Here, I would, as soon as I won the lead, I would immediately start tackling the diamond suit to try and pull the trumps off them, even though I'm going to lose tricks there, because you can't avoid it. So the way I would see the play going, let's imagine they lead a club, because that's the worst thing for us. That gives me the most difficult of time. The way I imagine the play going is we win the ace of clubs, you play a diamond to the queen, jack or 10. They're all equivalent to you, it doesn't really matter. And one of the baddies plays a big one. That's just what they're going to do, isn't it? They're going to win the trick. They're likely now to lead 2 more rounds of clubs, winning their club tricks. That's sort of inevitable because they've started off with a good lead, haven't they? They've got rid of your ace and you've now got losers in that suit. There wasn't really anything you could do. If you had played spades in an attempt to get rid of these clubs, it's likely one of them would have trumped your spades and then you would be very sad. Because not only have you not got rid of your clubs, you've let them trump one of your big spades. So that would be bad. Therefore, you're going to have to lose these clubs. That's life. Thank God we're not up here, I suppose. You already lost the king or ace of diamonds. You've now lost 2 club tricks. But now we're in fairly good control of the hand. They can't lead any more clubs because you can trump them. They can't lead any hearts because we're too good in hearts. And they can't lead spades because we're too good in spades. The opponent's chances are now collapsing because they've kind of done it. They've taken their clubs. The only trick they've got coming now is the other big diamond, whichever one they didn't take. Whatever they lead, the most likely lead is a heart because they don't know you've got the ace. Whatever they lead, I would again turn my attentions to the diamond suit. We haven't completed drawing the trumps. And this is where it'll catch you out, because 4 tricks later, you've got to remember how many diamonds have got. And it was easy in the first instance, you just play them, that's 4, 8, 11, 13. Now, you've got to remember there was 4 back here, and now there's another 4 coming. You've got to keep kind of a running tally. What I want to stress is don't try and count all 4 suits. Don't try and be too clever. Yes, you can if you want to, but it's not a good idea, because what happens is you don't count any of them properly, and instead you're doing nothing. So if you are going to concentrate on one suit, the trump suit is the one to concentrate on. So just remember, kind of stick that in your head. 4 diamonds have gone. You don't care how many clubs have gone or hearts, it's the diamonds that you're interested in this hand. So we play another diamond, the jack, let's say, and they take their other big one, whatever the other one they didn't take. Let's say everybody played a diamond on both rounds. So that's 8 diamonds gone. 9, 10, 11, 12. Someone has a diamond left. So we still need to get that off them, don't we? So then they play another heart is the most likely thing. If they play, it doesn't matter because we've got the hand now. But let's say they play another heart, so you can win the king. You need to draw that trump off them, because you cannot have them winning that trump. So now you want to play a spade over to your king, noticing we're not playing trumps because we can't, we're in the wrong place. This is one of these things you're going to realise playing bridge is very awkward. You often find yourself in the wrong hand. It's quite annoying. Now we've got our lead over here. I've made an assumption that they didn't trump that one spade. That would be really unlucky if one opponent had all of the spades and the other one had no spades and 1 trump left. That would be quite unlucky. Could happen though. The 10 of diamonds pulls the last trump, whoever has it, and now the hand is ours. Those 3 trumps are winners and that spade is a winner. So in all we lost 2 clubs, sort of inevitable, and 2 diamonds, the ace king. Just because your trumps are bad doesn't mean you shouldn't pull trumps, is what I'm trying to prove there. It is an instinct to turn away from trumps when they are dodgy. And in fact, that should be your guidance or your kind of hint to turn towards them. Because if your trumps are kind of gaps in them, you need to try and pull the trumps off the opponent so they don't win their little ones. It's their little trumps you're trying to avoid losing, not the big ones. Okay? Because it was inevitable. All right? Right, try one more. One more example. Okay, clubs are trumps because we've got 9 of them. That's our best suit. And we have 10, 17, opposite 7 is 24, which are in this bracket, so we need 9 tricks. I think we're going to make more than that. Let's see. So the opponents lead something. Let's say a spade. That's probably the worst for us because it sets a winner up for them. So let's say they lead a spade. Ace of spades. Now here, our trump suit is quite good. Not amazing, but quite good. We've got the ace king. Because we want to draw the trumps, our next best thing that we want to play on is hearts. There's a problem in hearts, not trumps. We're missing the ace of hearts. We're not missing particularly big trumps. We are missing the queen of trumps, which may or may not be a winner. But just because our side suit is a bit dodgy doesn't mean we should kind of change tact all of a sudden. We should still try and pull the trumps and play on our next best suit, even if there is losers in our next best suit. Last time there were losers in our trump suit, this time there are losers in our next best suit. Now here we have 9 trumps rather than 8 trumps. 9 trumps there's a potential for a 2-2 break. So the more and more you play bridge, the more you'll kind of cross your fingers for nice breaks. A 2-2 break here would be very nice, wouldn't it? Because you play the ace, you play the king, and the opponents have no more clubs, so they don't win anything with their queen or jack of clubs. That would be nice, wouldn't it? So through the power of being on the board, I'm going to say that's what happens. But it doesn't necessarily happen, and I'll talk about what happens otherwise. So we play the ace-king of trumps, just because we're trying to draw the trumps, essentially. Play ace-king, and let's say it's Christmas or your birthday or something, and everyone plays a club on both rounds. That is now 8 clubs gone. Again, I count in 4s, that's just the way I count. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's the club suit sorted. Through some fortune that the clubs broke nicely. Now we turn to our next best suit. Our next best suit is hearts. Problem is, we're missing the ace of hearts. But you've got to get rid of that ace of hearts to make all of your tricks. Establishing tricks is a really key technique to bridge. You will never have lots of tricks on top where you can just go ace, king, ace, king, ace, king. You need to set tricks up. So here we are going to sacrifice our king of hearts to establish our queen, jack and 10. Or sacrifice your queen, set your king, jack, 10, whatever, they're all equivalent. So here, lead the king of hearts. One of the opponents is bound to play their ace on it, wondering why you're playing hearts. And the reason you're playing hearts is to establish these as tricks. Okay, so king of hearts loses to the ace. They now play their winning spade, which is the most likely thing they're going to do. So we've now lost 2 tricks so far. They then turn their attentions to the only suit they can turn to is diamonds, but we're now in complete control of the hand. We win the ace of diamonds, and then we play queen of hearts, jack of hearts, ten of hearts. And on the queen of hearts, jack of hearts, ten of hearts, we throw queen of hearts, jack of hearts. We can actually throw the king of diamonds away if you want to show off about how good your hearts are. Because now, we only have trumps left. Okay, so we're actually a king of diamonds, too good for that hand. And that's simply because this heart suit is really nice. You're just missing the ace. The club suit is quite nice, well, really nice as well, but you're missing queen jack. Now that was some fortune. The fortune was that the clubs behaved. They broke 2 and 2. It might have been 3 and 1, and then you would have lost a club. Or it might have been 4 and 0, which would have been very sad, and you'd have lost 2 clubs. But even in that world, you would still make your contract. Here we've only lost 1 spade and 1 heart. We were aiming for 9, and we made 11. So even if the clubs had behaved badly, and one opponent had all 4, which is really unlucky, you would have lost 2 club tricks on top of the other two you've lost. So you've gone 11 down to 9. You just still made your contract. And that's because you played it the proper way. Draw the trumps, next best suit. Okay? There are instances where drawing the trumps is a bad idea, but that is a lesson in itself. Okay? Drawing the trumps is often a good idea, but I can't promise always. And the amount of times I'm going to say that whilst teaching you bridge is frustrating. Here's a good idea, but not always. Here's a good bid, but not always. It's one of those things about the game. Okay? So tonight, what I've done, I've set the hands up in a way where I think drawing trumps is a good idea. So what I want you to do is get in a habit and practice of pulling the trumps, counting to 13, and then turning your attention to your next best suit. Okay?